Welcome to Let's Blame the Planets, a monthly astrology podcast where we use what's happening in the sky as a starting point for conversation, reflection, and storytelling. This isn't about predictions or having all the answers. It's about exploring astrology as it shows up in real life and helping you understand astrology for what it really is. My name is Sandra Jungen. I'm a natal astrologer, and together with my co-host Ray Cho, our honorary astrologer, we'll dive deep each month into a topic that feels relevant for the world, or sometimes just for us. We both have a strong Sagittarius streak, so expect curiosity, big questions, and the occasional philosophical detour. Hi. All right, we're getting ready for our Cancer season overview. There's quite a lot to cover. I'm going to give you a quick overview and then we're going to dive deep and see what comes up. So we had a very busy Gemini season. I don't know if I was the only one, but definitely felt really chaotic.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
No. So I'm really looking forward to the slower moving energy of Cancer.
Yeah.
Not, Cancer's a cardinal sign, so it's still got that push, but it's definitely more of an inward sign, At the same time, I think the inner world can become a little bit more loud. We listen to our emotions, old patterns can surface. Yeah. And the question of what nourishes me comes up really strongly, I think. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. The Cancer season overall, it's the start of retrograde season as well, which again just kind of shows you that inward moving energy that's starting to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've got a lot happening out here. So I feel like this season's kind of 3 layers, and it's like we've got these historical alignments of the outer planets, which we're going to talk about, incredible alignments of the outer planets, which are historical and kind of span over the next 2 to 10 years, but this is where it's starting to land. So we're going to talk about that. Then we've got the Mars-Uranus conjunction, which talk about that. That's kind of going to be going on maybe in the background for some of you, maybe very loud for others. Definitely on the world stage it'll be a bit louder. And then there's like Cancer season, which I do feel is a little more contracted, not in a bad way, in a way that we are looking inwards at the same time being aware of what's being asked on a collective level. And I feel like Cancer season this year, even just how it starts, is very much about, yes, what do I need? But our connection to the collective. Not just the collective humanity, but the earth, our place within that, and, our symbiotic relationship with that.
So, and also I feel like like you said, the Cancer season can be really like slow down, nurturing ourselves and our self-love and like focus on our emotional needs. But I think this is not like a typical Cancer season, because like you said, the bigger layer, everything happening around us like get more intensified, because the Uranus Mars is like basically, if you're looking at when Uranus square Mars, when February 28, what happened in the world stage, and now that time they're squaring, they're basically having tension, frustration, right? But now they're conjunct. And it can be good, really big, massive, like a good manifestation, liberation. It can be also really aggressive, like explosive manifestation as well. So this can be really, really loud, and it will take a lot of our attention to that. But doesn't mean the internal process is not stopped. So it's like contradicting in a way. It's really fiery, like intense and explosive in a way, but also it's really quiet here, because there's a lot of things really at the same time really loud as well. So it's like, it's not okay, I'm just cozy in my fire Cancer season. No. It's like a lot of things happening in the world, boom, 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 boom. And then here it's like, oh, there's something triggered within me as well. It can be associated with that, but also it cannot be. So I think that's how I feel the energy looks like. It's like external and the internal happening at the same time, and just how you kind of like navigating at both. So it can be really intense in a way, like emotionally,
Yeah. I think creating that, well, we'll talk about this at the end, how we can but
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
definitely that nurturing and still coming inwards. And
yeah,
we're going to have to work harder, I think, to
yeah,
create that space to slow down, but it's important. It's really, really important to look
yeah,
inwards.
yeah. And
Okay.
also, yeah, one thing. Can you just tell me about your Gemini season? Like we always have like a little reflection about what's
Yeah,
going
so
on last
let's
month.
reflect on
Yeah,
Gemini and then we'll look
yeah,
at Cancer as a sign.
yeah,
Because it is, astrology transitions. So we had Gemini, it's very much about the mind.
yeah,
It's fast, it's mentally, it's restless. It stretches our nervous system because our mind's so busy.
yeah,
And then there's a natural flow into that more Cancerian,
yeah,
you know, feeling mode.
yeah,
Gemini season for me was, I mean, I have a lot of Gemini planets.
yeah,
It was really just, bleh. I can't even, it was a lot. And I
yeah,
knew it was going to be. I come out of it feeling really overwhelmed.
yeah,
Despite, I have a lot of tools and this is what I do for work
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, but I feel very stretched. I feel very overwhelmed. My body is really feeling like it needs to slow down.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had so many things. I mean, I had my Mercury return in Gemini as well. I've got Uranus in Gemini, obviously coming up to all my Gemini planets in the 12th house. I've
Yeah.
got my progressed moon in Gemini at the moment, so there's a lot of Gemini for me, and I do feel like it's a bit chaotic, and that I really felt that chaos theory that we talked about. Like everything's getting my foundations, especially of my mind,
Yeah.
are getting upturned. Like everything that I thought was real, I'm like questioning.
Yeah.
So I'll
Yeah.
talk more about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
but
that's a really good
there's
important topic to talk about later on. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
things like I've discovered, well, I'm 41, that
Yeah.
I haven't got an official diagnosis, but I may be neurodivergent, and
Yeah.
everyone around me is like, oh, you didn't know? And I'm like, no. So that's,
Yeah.
causing a lot of upheaval
Mental.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
mental
Yeah.
upheaval. So
Yeah.
for me, I definitely felt Gemini season. It was also really exciting. I had a lot of connections, a lot of
Yeah.
reconnections with people, a lot of activity,
Conversation as well. Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely lived up to the hype for me. What about you?
Yeah, I think yeah, my Gemini season is busy, but I think less in the of course, mental side of things like activity, event, and all that conversations. But I feel like it's kind of like the opposite, activating my not Jupiter, activating my like Sagittarius in a way. So I think now I'm starting to dive deep into find kind of like for example, I'm starting to interested in Baz astrology. And that's kind of like, okay, because I was literally before saying like, I'm not doing more, I already have a lot of modality in me, but this is just like when Sagittarius really starting to interesting something, I really want to be master of it. I'm not just saying, hey, I want to know the basic, I want to be professional, be able to reading it. I'm saying it. And so that's why I feel like, okay, and also it's like change, like there's a lot of mind process in that, the learning and the, okay, how can I actually applying in my service, you know what I mean? Because it's like my sixth house, like house of being service. I feel this is like a big activation in that and what I want to learn, because I was mentioning in my personal business and saying like I want to building the bridge between East and the West. I think that's perfect example for me to say, hey, this is something I already know part of the Western astrology. How can I building this? So I think Gemini season for me is like more activating my interest in my Sagi, wanting to learn more and providing more comprehensive, in-depth service for people I really want to support,
Nice.
So yeah,
I
that's
love
that's
that.
interesting. Yeah,
And I
yeah,
mean, like Gemini is about learning as well. And
yeah,
that word bridge,
yeah,
that's what a Gemini does, bridging east,
yeah,
west,
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we've both felt it in different ways.
Yeah, and also one thing I want to talking about, like you were saying, like you just said a little story about like, oh, everybody knows and you don't know. It's like really typical 12th house
Yeah.
thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hidden because you're not aware. Like
No,
even
it's very
maybe
much in my
for
unconscious, and it just came
yeah.
out so suddenly and unexpected, which is very Uranus and Gemini, right? And I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, suddenly this is happening.
okay. We'll
Yeah,
go.
and also, yeah, I think that's great. And another thing I feel like we can talk about is the Chiron in Taurus.
Yeah.
Because I think that's happening in 19th of June.
So
So,
literally the
yeah,
day before
mm,
the sun moves into Cancer, and I think
yeah,
that's such an important
mm,
window. It's such an important setting
yeah,
of, there's this bigger connection of the sun moving into Cancer, and as the sun moves into Cancer, it sextiles
yeah,
Chiron and newly in Taurus at 0 degrees, both of them.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there's this opportunity, I think, to again look at the wider implications
yeah.
of, the Cancer sun and Chiron and Taurus. Should we have a quick chat about
Mm,
Cancer in itself, of what it
yeah,
is? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
so people kind of get a feel for what Cancer is, and then maybe move into the Taurus connection?
yeah, yeah. We can talk about Cancer first. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We're both Cancer rising. We can speak volume for
Yeah, we've got.
that. Do you want to start first?
Yeah, so it's a cardinal water sign. So what does that
Yeah.
mean? It's, cardinal has got that forward movement, and water is obviously the emotional
Mm,
depth that every water sign has. And I think for Cancer, the shell, of the crab, when it feels attacked, it's very sensitive. It's a very protective sign.
hmm
It can.
Yeah,
I always think of it like mama bear.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
something that it feels
Threatens.
very
Yeah,
important. Is to Cancer. If you've got Cancer strong in your chart, you'll have things that are really important to you, and you fiercely protect those.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it protects what it matters most, and it's ruled by the moon. So its energy fluctuates.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it waxes and wanes. It's not consistent. It's a very
mm,
feminine sign. It's very cyclical. Um, you know, it some days it'll feel really rich and nourishing, and other days it'll feel really
mm,
emotionally unstable and heavy.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but there's this really deep emotional intelligence and this mothering, nurturing instinct, I think, that Cancer has as well, and loyalty to what
yeah,
it feels is important.
yeah,
It can become, quite emotionally withdrawn again, when, like I said, if it feels attacked.
yeah. Passive aggressive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
passive aggressive, definitely, especially if you have Mars in Cancer.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And it's very nostalgic. Like it will hold on to the past,
yeah,
loves
yeah,
memories, and um, yeah, it's hard to let go of things, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
and also another thing I think for Cancer is actually the home is actually really important theme.
Yes.
Home and family, because I
Yeah.
think that's their base. I think most, like I can speak for myself, like my home is most important thing. If my home is not settled, I
Yeah.
cannot do anything, right? So I think
Yeah.
home, family is the foundation. The home doesn't necessarily need to be like a physical home. It's like really feeling home at
Yeah.
self. And I think that's big thing when you're talking about Cancer, the home, the family, and like you said, holding on to the past, that can be really cannot move on in a way, even though it's cardinal sign. And sometimes the fiery protectiveness can be seems like a fiery sign, but because the cardinal like element to it. So the cardinal signs Cancer, Libra, Aries, and Capricorn, right? So this four sign, even though they're not all fire sign, but because the cardinal element to it make it like more initiative. Like I
Yeah.
can starting things, I can pushing things forward. So also sometimes this four sign can be good leaders in a way. So that's
Yeah.
why a lot of Cancer can be really good leaders because they initiate, they protect.
Yeah.
So that's a really good quality of leadership in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I think that's general, like what I understood about Cancer. I think,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I guess
yeah,
the
yeah,
season, I think we could probably do a whole podcast on this actually, but
yeah,
the season in the southern hemisphere, we are going into winter, which I
yeah,
actually think works really well with Cancer.
yeah,
Um, whereas in the northern, you're going into summer, but there is this, I think even in the northern hemisphere, as you start to approach July, there's this kind of
the
you're
heat, yeah,
you're relaxing into summer, like it
yeah,
becomes more like it slows down a little bit, and the
yeah,
weather
yeah,
becomes more settled.
Yeah.
And in the southern hemisphere, you're going inwards. There's the fire roaring, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So there's also that natural rhythm. And
Yeah.
again, it's that lunar, that seasonal rhythm of Cancer of moving inwards and slowing down, even though it's a cardinal sign, which is interesting, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
And also, I feel like because when the sun, like especially solstice, when we get into the Cancer season, like I said, because the Chiron in Taurus, like in the background. So basically, like we are in the southern hemisphere, right? So because we are in the winter time, which means like perfect for healing. The Taurus is the feminine, it's the body, and the Cancer won't be cozy at home. So I feel like this is a really good window for us to actually taking care of ourselves, and
yeah,
the self-care is a really big theme of Cancer season, and also with the Chiron in Taurus, which means creating a safe home or safe space for whatever may be surfacing
yeah,
in the wound. Or and also, like when I'm thinking about Chiron in Taurus, the great example, for example, in New Zealand is the was that bill, like the government trying to sell our conservation land. That's exactly the big
I know,
theme of that.
I
And I was
know.
like, that's where the Cancer, the protective
The
of
protective, yeah,
us need to coming out, because this
yeah,
is what the healing we are doing as collective. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yes,
Um,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't believe that, the timing of that, you know. So in New
yeah,
Zealand, we have, I don't know how much of our land is conservation land, but it's a lot. And it's
yeah,
very important to
yeah,
New Zealand as a nation, to the
yeah,
people. And
yeah.
our government has just produced this bill that allows them to sell off
Sell. Yeah,
60% of our national parks, of our national conservation lands.
yeah,
And there's a huge uproar because people are like, no, we're protecting this. And I
yeah,
think this is why that movement of Chiron into Taurus, I think, is so important with Cancer season, because they're both asking the same thing.
yeah.
But it's like
The
Cancer's like,
care for the land, you
what is
know?
important to me, what
Yeah,
nourishes me, but I
yeah,
am connected to the greater healing, which is Chiron. And I think there's just so much healing. I'm really excited for Chiron and Taurus because I feel, and I don't think it's gonna be easy, because it's
no,
going to be us reckoning with
yeah,
how disconnected we are
yeah,
from our natural rhythms, from the earth,
yeah,
how we haven't protected
yeah,
the earth.
yeah,
And that is going to affect us physically. I mean, I feel that on an individual level, my body
yeah,
physically, but
yeah,
also as like humanity. You know, I think
yeah,
we're going to see a lot more um, natural disasters, you know,
yeah,
and they're going to really impact personally.
yeah,
So, you know, when Chiron was in Aries, it was very much about me. Am I enough?
yeah.
You
The
know, there's all
identity.
that, yeah, identity. We had the masculine
Yeah,
wound. We had, you know, the therapy side of things became really big. Coaching became really big. It's all about me and my wounds. Whereas
yeah,
when Chiron moves into Taurus, it's about like, well, the body. Like, how have we cared for the body? How have we cared for the earth?
yeah.
What are the physical wounds are going to become really obvious. Yeah,
Yeah, because Taurus associated with the body, and then that's how you actually, because all about the sensory side of things, like you can
yeah,
feel it really, really strong. Like what I really like great about the timing is because when I see the sun get into Cancer and then the Chiron in Taurus, basically is asking us collectively to protecting the land, to really reconnect the care of the land, because Cancer cares. This is my home, this is my land. And like you said, we're so disconnected us from the land, and like basically everything is about like capitalism, everything is about the profit. It's
yeah,
nothing about nothing nurtures us. The nature give us things for free, but what we treat them, how we
yeah,
treat the Mother Earth. Sometimes this, like I think the Cancer in me like gets like really fiery with this, because
same.
how could you,
I
you know,
know.
you just
It
like
just
destroying your home in a way.
it
Is this,
feels
yeah,
it feels so blatant. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I was just like, when I read that piece of news, I was like, what? Like, this is so ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah,
guess we talked about that in the last podcast too, just how these world events
yeah,
are just so ridiculous that we're just like,
yeah.
what? And the
Yeah, I think
systems and
yeah. There's another
You
thing
know?
I think today I was reading as well, similar event. I think it's not in New Zealand. I think it's in Albania. They have like protests, but similar things. I think it's the government trying to build a project like building like a luxury resort along the coastline and all that stuff, and become massive protest, and people protecting the land, saying this is not okay. Now they're in day 22. It's still massive movement. Like it's no go. And then starting to asking the investigation of the government and all that. Right, so it's like it's not coincidence. It's happening everywhere, you know, because now people are seeing the truth, and also I think we can talk about that later. Like now we're connecting with the Uranus in Gemini, which there's a lot of information, investigation. Suddenly, we're actually providing some liberation to what being shown, you know.
It's
So I
starting
think
to land. Yeah, and the Pluto and Aquarius too. So that's that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's actually, should we quickly talk about that? Because in the background of all of that is this, I talked about this a lot
yeah,
in Gemini season when I was telling people, embrace the chaos because it's going to start to make sense in July. And I feel like we're getting there. We can feel, so we're talking about the configuration of the outer planets. So we've got Pluto in Aquarius, Neptune in Aries,
yeah.
Uranus
in Gemini, yeah.
And they're forming this configuration, which is harmonious.
Yeah.
So, and it's all happening in July, in July 19th especially, but we're going to feel it through the whole month where, it's starting to make sense. So like you said, the Uranus and Gemini, this information, it's starting to land. The Aquarius, the Pluto in Aquarius is starting to, like the people are starting to really, you know, power to the people. Yeah. And then Neptune and Aries, like the fog is almost like lifting. It's like like I say, you're just kind of waking up and you're like, this is ridiculous. Like what? What have we've been sleepwalking, and then you open your eyes and you're like, what?
Because they're instructing us for different things. For example, like we're talking about Epstein file for so long, and suddenly the World Cup, suddenly like the NBA finals, like people, let's just like watching a thing, and that's how people are distracting us. And that's where like the Uranus coming through and saying, hey, wake up. There's always things going on, you know.
I was watching the World Cup because my partner's English and I love football as well, but Iran was playing in the America, and I was like. Like my brain was like
But anyway, let's move on. So shall we, I think we're talking about the Cancer season energetic signature. I think I make some notes, like we start with a full moon in Capricorn, and also Mercury retrograde, and also Jupiter changing sign, isn't it, at the same day? So I think that's a big day.
Kind of one of the main transits. Well, the first main transit is this triple event on June 30th. So we have the full moon in Capricorn at 8 degrees. Exactly conjunct my.
Do you want to put a chart on? See.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll do that. Sorry, I haven't got it up. Just 1 minute.
That's right.
Full moon.
Because I think this triple event is actually really, really, really interesting.
Yeah,
Full moon is already really emotional because I think, and in Capricorn.
Here we go. So this is the first one. So we've got this full moon in Capricorn. That is happening on June 30th. It's quickly followed by Mercury stationing retrograde. So you can already see here Mercury stationing. And then only a few hours later, and let me just try and find this. There's the full moon. There's the Mercury retrograde. So that happens a few moments later. And then we've also got Jupiter. So moving that's, you know, a few minutes later. Oh, actually, I've got that set for Switzerland. Sorry. So that's probably why.
I think in my note is 2 days later. But
so that's probably why I got that wrong, because I've got it set for Switzerland. Anyway, they are all happening in very close succession. You know, full moon, Mercury stationing, and then Jupiter entering Leo. Yeah, it's going to be a big day.
Yeah, and also like,
It's going to feel
because I
like a
think
lot.
like, yeah, the sun, because we just get into like a Cancer season, and then the first full moon is actually happening in the opposite sign, which is in the Capricorn, right? And I feel it's like kind of like, for me, like if you are Cancer rising, the moon like falls in the seventh house, which is your partnership, which is kind of like, okay, now like your need, it's kind of like balancing your need and your partnership and like the other person's need. But for me, because moon is for in the Capricorn, it's like institution, is the authority, is the power. So I feel like the full moon is always have a illumination about like revealing some truths. So I feel like in general, collectively, it might be revealing something at the beginning, like you said before, like now the Uranus in Gemini, the information starting to land and the awakening starting to be more aware, like be more obvious. And this is the starting point. Now the information or the truth about authority, about like, for example, our government or like leadership, right? The people in the power and starting to having something emotional truths that not emotional truths, like some truths will causing or leading some like for people's like emotional reaction, because the moon is representing like mass consciousness as well. So I feel like it's like, okay, something revealing starting from this day and then moving forward, and then more people were starting to feel like, okay, it's kind of like you feel it first and then you having an understanding or knowledge or information around it later on. I think that's how I feel this, because also Mercury retrograde for me happening at the same time, which means for like, because when you're thinking about Mercury retrograde, it's like, okay, let's revisit, let's recheck it, like, right? So I feel like there's some form of investigation, some form of like, let's check what you have done, you know? So I feel like it's,
it's also like the ruler. So
yeah,
like, the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn, and it's squaring Saturn this full moon.
yeah,
So there's this, like you said, and that's actually a really good point. I was kind of looking for that piece,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
didn't pick up on that. This kind of, like I said, this realization of
yeah,
almost like the last gasp of capitalism and
yeah,
the late stage capitalism ridiculousness
yeah,
that we're
yeah,
seeing,
yeah,
and
yeah,
people waking up to it and being
yeah.
like, yeah, is that,
Yeah, yeah, and also like you can see, like it. Yeah, I think that's a good point. For example, the Saturns actually this full moon I think is exactly 14 degrees, and is that 14 degrees? 8 degrees, 8
14?
degrees. Yeah, 14 degrees. A square, like not exact square, but like what? I think is that because is that Queenstown? Is that the location you're
I've got
requesting?
Queenstown here, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a square Saturn because, like you said, the Saturn is the ruler of the moon, right? Saturn is also like authority figure
Yeah.
as well, like something in the power, and some people have the power to restrict you. Some people can like having the rules, and then this full moon squaring that is also the challenge for the authority as well. So for me, it's like a lot of information, or you feel there's something wasn't right and need to be investigated in the retrograde, and then you will see what's happening later on,
Yeah.
and then more
Yeah.
full background or full information when coming through.
Yeah.
um yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's my take on that. Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I think on a personal level,
yeah,
it's going to feel a little bit heavy as well in terms of
yeah, yeah.
like that Saturn's like, have you done the work? Are you being
Yes.
honest with yourself? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
um, it could be quite confronting, I think, and it could
yeah,
feel like quite like, oh, you want to,
yeah,
protect yourself a little bit from that kind of stern voice.
yeah.
I do like that Saturn is trine
Mm-hmm.
Venus here.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
there is a little bit of ease there. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's not about, like that stern voice is also like what's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that Venus and Leo, like what do you really hold desire as important?
Yeah.
So I think, especially if you have Cancer, like this is falling on my descendant ascendant axis exactly.
Yeah.
I think it could feel quite confronting and but I think that stern voice of Saturn is kind of going, well, what is important?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
are you willing to put in the work for what's important?
Yeah, yeah. And also another thing I want to mention, like with the square, like is when two planets forming a 90 degrees like aspect, right? I feel like sometimes square is not necessarily saying it's a bad thing. It's basically
No.
challenge you for growth.
Yeah.
You know, there's a like frustration. You feel like restricted, but might be the Saturn has good intention. Like for example, you can see like Saturn is like aspecting Venus, right? It's like a beneficial planet in a way. So there's a support, there's a good intention to make the situation better, but it challenges the moon, challenge the all the people to facing something like now. It's like you have to feel uncomfortable in order to having the resolution, in order to moving forward. But this restriction is not always bad. It's trying to, hey, let's get things down. How you can you do better? You know?
Yeah, priorities, right?
Yeah. All right. Okay. So yeah, I think that's the full moon,
so
right? Yeah.
should we talk about Jupiter entering Leo? Because that happens just before Mercury goes retrograde. I mean, Mercury's stationing the whole time.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look whether I can get.
And also, before we're talking about Jupiter in Leo, I want to ask you a question about how do you feel about Jupiter in Cancer for the last year? Because
I'm a bit sad.
Yeah. Oh, because in our Cancer rising.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit sad about Jupiter leaving
Yeah.
Cancer. Because it's Jupiter is very comfortable in Cancer, I think.
Yeah.
With all the like outer planetary and air and fire,
Yeah.
it's been really nice to have Jupiter in Cancer because I feel like it's softened it. It's allowed us to look at what's important to us while everything's going on. When I first saw, Jupiter moving into Leo, it's just more fire. I hope we don't lose touch of the emotional side of what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
I think the only kind of grounding planet, because I think Cancer in its own way is probably the most grounded out of the water signs. The most grounding planet now is Chiron, and
The wounded place.
wounded. So, yeah, I'm a bit sad to see Jupiter go, but it's time,
Yeah, because I think we do. Because I feel like last year, I feel like last year when Jupiter in Cancer, it's pretty much really like not just for Cancer rising. I think in general, it's like healing our emotional need and how to taking care of ourselves and how to find home within us. But I think like once you find the foundation, because like Cancer is the foundation, it's foundation of who we are and it's where our home is, where our land is. And now it's like when you find that solid structure or your home or your foundation, and then it's time to moving forward. So I think I'm actually opposite. I'm quite excited about like Jupiter moving into Leo. I was like, oh, yay!
I am excited.
Finally.
But I guess it's also like shows you that it's these astrological transits. You have to make the most of them while they're there.
Yeah. So I think I definitely
it's good to know astrology, because if you don't, then you can miss opportunities.
Yeah. So for example, we are in Cancer rising, right? So Jupiter into Leo, and which is our second house. So that shows a great like window of maybe, because that second house is the house of like money, income, and possession, all that. And that's a good time, for example, if you want to make more money, and that's a good window to utilizing that, right? So it's like working with the timing. So that's, I think, the good side about astrology is you learn the timing, and then you know when you work with the timing rather than against the current, isn't it? But one thing I want to asking, like there's something I want to talk about Jupiter conjunct Venus last month. And like I think I have something talking, because a lot of people say, hey, Jupiter conjunct Venus, because both planets are like beneficial planet in
that was last
astrology.
month in Gemini season. We had
Gemini,
Jupiter conjunct Venus in Cancer.
Yeah. And I heard a lot of people saying that's luckiest year in the whole month. Yes, it can be very good aspect to have in our chart. But I have to say, sometimes, for example, if your natal Jupiter or natal Venus is in really like detrimental placement, and this activation doesn't necessarily need to be like really luckiest year, like luckiest day in the year. You know what I mean? So as I'm saying, like sometimes like when we're looking at the general horoscope, Jupiter, yes, it is beneficial, but it really depends on how that located in your chart and how is that activating you. So you cannot just generalize it, okay, it's all good stuff. No, sometimes like the good planet can do bad things as well. So I think that's just something I want to mention here, and then like our audience will be more aware of that.
Yeah, I think, yes, I agree. I actually had a friend of mine reach out around that Venus Jupiter time, and she's like, I'm having a really hard time, and this is supposed to be a nice time. And I was like, well, again, it's not about doing bad things. I do feel like what she was going through was a very emotional time. She'd just sold her family home. She was transitioning out of this relationship. But I did say to her, the fact that this is happening around Jupiter, Venus, it does show you that there's growth there, that it is, there's a positive side to it. You know, it's a hard thing because there's a lot of emotion. It was in Cancer. And it,
amplify,
really, But I said, you know, I feel like Jupiter does give you that kind of, no matter what's happening, whether it's good or bad in your life, when Jupiter's involved, it's almost like this guardian angel that kind of like helps you transition. Right? And Jupiter's quite often also involved in death charts because of that. It's like this outer presence that helps us to transition. And it's, you know, I mean, we can look at these things as bad, but actually Jupiter is this expanded outer being that's, you know, there's something bigger than us out there.
And also Jupiter is like, another side of Jupiter is like expansion, right? Like you said, providing growth opportunities because it's in Cancer, which means like emotionally you feel like much bigger than it should be because like Jupiter amplify things, right? So that's why I feel, oh, that's hard, that's bad, that's negative. But it's not. It's like ultimately it's for your growth, it's for your expansion, it's for your growth out of this version of you. Like, but you have to going through those experiences. So I was saying bad. I think it's just people in general concept. Okay, that's bad because it's hard. But Jupiter, when Jupiter is there, you will know you're always protected and guided. But in a way, it's not always luck as you wish, but it's luck, another way of luck. I have to say. You know what I mean? So I think that's just one thing I want to mention and pointing out. And so you're aware, like not everybody say, hey, luckiest day in the year is going to be your luckiest day. Maybe luck in another way.
So I think Jupiter and Leo, Jupiter and Leo. Whatever house that's in for you, that's where the growth is invited in. You know, so we're moving into Leo. Look at your chart, see where it is for the next year. That is where the growth is coming, you know. But I think with it being, and it's, you know, asking you to step into it, and I think sometimes Jupiter, it can feel, is so expansive that it can feel uncomfortable, and especially in Leo, there's this extra push because Leo's like, it's expansive, it's the heart, it's like what we really want, it's we're stepping out. And again, depending on where that is in your chart and your own relationship with Jupiter and your chart, it could feel uncomfortable, it could feel very pushy, it could feel very confronting. But it might also be incredibly expansive and abundant, and you know, it is coming on the same day as a Mercury retrograde, which I think is so fascinating. So it's kind of this like Jupiter and Leo, and then it's like
and also when the Jupiter getting into Leo is also square Chiron in Taurus as well.
Really good point.
So that's when, for example, Leo is like more about like self-expression, creativity, and joy and fun. Like I want a stage, I want an audience, that kind of energy, right? And then suddenly like Chiron, like a arrow, like sticking to the heart in a way. And so basically, I think this, is a very expensive trying to like give you opportunity of like growth about your self-expression, authenticity, and go back to the heart, because Leo is about heart and leadership as well. But also like really like slow it down as well. Like you've got opportunity to expand for the next year to discover yourself, sort of like expression and all that, but also where's our wounding around this? Because I feel like it's starting with where's our wounding about how we become more authentic, how we lead from our heart, how we be like self-aware rather than like I just only taking up the space without considering the Aquarius, the group, the community, right? Because I think that's a big thing collectively as well, because Chiron Taurus this 3 months only dip back into for 3 months and then go back to Aries a little bit and then permanently moving to Taurus. So this 3 months give us a window of how we heal from our self-expression, our authenticity, without like trying to be all about us, all about like the egocentric like attention like grabbing, rather than okay, I also need to consider that group, community, and collective as well, you know.
And this is actually something that I think is really important as well with Cancer season, because I think Cancer season is preparing us for Leo season, obviously. And in when in Leo season, Jupiter is going to be conjunct the South Node, because the nodes are going to shift. That also like this makes Leo season a lot different, because the South Node is about, you know, there's this outward expression of Leo, but it's not coming from ego. So the South Node is like we're releasing the negative parts of the Leo, which is very ego. And we've got so many within ourselves, but also on the world stage, egocentric people right now that are just,
as well, like in all the industry.
Instagram, all that kind of thing, like the parts of us that want to perform from a place of not authenticity. So I do feel like this Mercury retrograde, this Cancer season, is really asking us to go inward, because Leo season's about shining from a place of genuineness. It's not
from
about
heart.
shining from ego. So that South Node, that North and South Node transition next month, I think is going to be a really important, releasing that performance. So it's a very different quality, I think, to Leo.
And also because
Jupiter and Leo, we talked about that in our 2026 overview, didn't we? How Jupiter and Leo is going to be quite a different feel, because that South Node is changing as well.
Because I feel like it's kind of like purifying our expression, self-expression in a way for the whole year, pretty much. Because when you see, because this is like when the Jupiter just starting changing sign and then hit Chiron in Taurus, and then having a Mercury retrograde, that actually starting an energetic signature from how this transit for the whole year. So it's not like normally, okay, they're just putting myself out there, just like have a performance, that have taken the leadership. It's more about how you express yourself authentically. Like you said, also the South Node conjunct Jupiter later on, we're also amplifying that, like purifying, like who you truly are, and what you put out there is actually who you are inside as well. So it's not like a perform, because Jupiter in Leo is good at performing, and there's so many people are doing this. I think that's collectively asking us to be authentic ourselves, no matter with people watching or without people watching. You know.
And I'm seeing a real shift of that already. I mean, we digressing a little bit, but even on social media, I'm seeing a real shift to more authentic sharing, less performative. But anyway, okay, let's talk about Mercury stationing retrograde and Mercury retrograde, because I think this is probably one of the main like personal transits that are happening during Cancer season. It's June 30th all the way through to July 23rd, so it's pretty much the whole of Cancer season. And you know, Mercury retrograde gets a bad reputation, but I think it's really a beautiful transit in itself, because it gives us that time to slow down, to revise, to revisit. You know, Cancer ruling our inner world of memories, of emotional safety. Again, just it's almost like this last, like, okay, what have you learnt with Jupiter being in Cancer this whole time? What have you learnt that's really important? The mind turning inwards, you know, what do I need to feel safe? What have I been avoiding emotionally? What conversations need to happen as well? You know, like what conversations need to happen with people? I mean, you and I just had a conversation before this. You know, was very, I think, almost a Mercury retrograde.
I think I was gonna to say, because like, can you see that both of us, like the wording starting to stuck a little bit?
I know.
mean, okay, Mercury retrograde already here. So we're in the shadow period.
Mercury retrograde, we're like blah 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 blah. So there's this kind of like turning inwards. Obviously, like practical wise, Mercury retrograde, they always say, you know, don't sign contracts, double check your travel. There's all of that stuff. I think from a practical point of view, if you have got something that you really, really need some clarity on, or you need to sign, then wait till the Mercury cosy, when Mercury is conjunct the Sun. I think it's July 13th. This is kind of a nice little window. I've actually done that before when I was selling a house in Mercury retrograde, and I waited till the Mercury cosy to put the house on the market, and it was incredible. It went so well. So, you know, but so I think that Mercury stationing retrograde is a really nice flavor to the season, actually, with what it's asking of us.
Sorry, another thing I just see why I want to add on about the Chiron in Taurus and square Jupiter in Leo. Just like ignore the Mercury for now. Because I feel like I think when you're talking about like Cancer season, when Jupiter in Cancer is like preparing us emotional safety for us for the Leo season, right? I think the Chiron in Taurus here is like a little bit testing how we get on, because I think it's kind of like you need to having that safety within you in your body to kind of like to be not afraid being seen, because Jupiter in Leo is like, okay, are you feel safe enough and you are no longer be afraid of being seen, right? So I think that's a big question to asking Chiron asking right now. So how have you learned in the Cancer season? How you creating that emotional safety, and how about your nervous system regulation you have learned in the past year? How can you now utilizing that to be able to allow yourself to be seen? You know, so I think that's the safety things I'm talking about. That's just like another thing.
Cool, perfect.
Right.
All right, so should we go on to
the Uranus conjunct Mars
conjunction,
in Gemini,
which I just completely ignored. I didn't pick up on it. I did pick up on it. It was actually in my notes, but I just didn't want to talk about it.
I just don't want to talk about it. Because I think this, like I said before, if we're really looking at what happened in February 28th, and when the Uranus square Mars, and that's when the US-Iran war happening. But of course, what I'm mentioning here is not trying to, isn't there gonna big thing happening? They're gonna fight again and whatever. It's not about that. I feel energetically, it's kind of like, for me, because this conjunct in Gemini, and for me it's more information, or like, I don't know, I feel like it's information-wise, there's a lot unexpected explosion and coming. And like I said before, we were talking about the Mercury retrograde. There's some the full moon, right? We're talking about the Mercury retrograde with the moon in Capricorn and the square Saturn. So there's like a lot investigation or revealing like some things may causing emotional reaction from the mass consciousness. And now is the timing this really boom, like waking people up. So for me, it's like more information. Like there's something will coming up, and then maybe news, maybe like, I don't know, like something happened, and then you will, like a lot of people are awakening from what has happened behind the scene, and you feel it first, and now this is the timing for you to actually having the information to land in our conscious mind. So I think that's what I feel this. And also a lot of people don't like Uranus, because Uranus is like really sometimes disruptive and chaotic, and in a way, and sudden changes, and people doesn't like change. But Uranus like ultimately bring liberation. For me, I feel like Uranus in Gemini is like, I called it conscious liberator. Like you liberating our consciousness, therefore can free ourselves from our conditioning, from our narrative, from our like maybe like the limited beliefs, and in so many different ways. And the Mars is basically the trigger point in a way, because the Mars being triggered the fiery energy, the fighting, the warrior, and all the conflict that happening, and then trigger people to thinking different way. There's bigger truth than what has been shown, you know. So I feel like that's kind of like intensified shocking explosion in that way. So that's why I feel like this day can be really, really explosive externally, and also can be internally as well. Depends on like your chart and how it activating your natal chart in a way. Yeah. What do you take on that?
I was just looking here, like, so we had, I haven't actually checked this, but the 28th of February, Mars obviously was in
Squaring. Yeah.
squaring Uranus,
Yeah.
so that, you know,
Yeah.
Mars has about a 2-year cycle. So that was a closing square.
Yeah.
So this is the new beginning as well. You know,
Yeah.
this conjunction is always a new beginning. So I do think there'll be some maybe resolution, although that, you know,
Yes.
maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
resolution
Yeah.
around that. You know, it doesn't need to be, I think it could be explosive, but I think in a way that, like you said, it's a beginning, you know,
Yeah.
it's a closing and it's a new start.
Yeah.
It's also square the moon and the north and the south node. So there's that
Oh,
nodal
that's interesting. Yeah.
axis.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, that's, you know, this
Yeah, that's like some fated sort of like event.
fated, yeah,
Historic,
like
because I feel like it's a historical event. It's
it
definitely going to
is.
happening on this day.
Yeah,
We'll
and that
witness
Mars
what's happening.
Uranus
Yeah.
has been so prominent in all the wars that have been going on, like Ukraine,
Yeah.
Iran. It's,
Yeah.
you know, the Mars Uranus
Yeah.
relationship has always kind of come through on those.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also personally, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
if you
'Cause
have got anything in those early degrees of the mutable signs, so Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, or Sagittarius, I think you'll
Yeah.
definitely feel this. There'll be some sort of breakthrough, a resolution, information coming to light. You know,
Yeah.
it's also
Yeah.
interesting. It's on the 4th of July, which is obviously America's National Day.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, isn't
Yeah.
it? 4th of
I
July.
don't know. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, it is.
I have no idea, so I
Yeah,
cannot
no, it
verify
is.
you.
But yeah, it is
Yeah.
it's on America's National Day, so it'll be
Yeah.
really interesting to see, you know, any kind of information that comes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
And
moon
also,
again being the people, you know.
yes, the people. That's what I'm
Um,
saying. Yeah, I'm looking at that as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
Kind
also,
of
Jupiter is still in the Leo. Yeah. Yeah, because I do feel like the North Node conjunct moves. I didn't pick up that before, and squaring that, I feel like there's definitely some friction between
yeah,
the people, and there's like definitely some movement going on. But like you said, I do believe compared to the not the Mercury retrograde already here for sure. The word's kind of coming up. The Uranus square Mars before, I don't think it's like that. I feel like
no,
it's more resolution, like you said, because I
yeah,
even like when you see like the cradle we're gonna talking about later on, it's like
mm,
we already having that background and harmonious, like supporting the power to people. But
yeah,
now we're just in the progress of how we find the bridge because there's a polarity
polarity.
between people and people in authority, right?
Yeah,
In institution, in
yeah,
government, all that. How we're building the bridge. Like the government is supposed to be working for people. When does that change? And how
yeah,
does that change?
yeah,
Are we
yeah, because
having
yeah,
a alternative system as well? Like for
mm,
example, even in New Zealand, what happened, for example, the Green Party introducing the tax to wealth,
yeah,
right? That's a massive like innovation in a way for
yeah,
me. Not innovation. I think a lot of country might be already doing it, and it's just not obvious for maybe in this mass consciousness in New Zealand. People, oh, that's maybe an alternative way to actually improving the cost of living. But of course, it will harming, for example, the wealth. You
yeah,
know, people in power.
yeah,
But I think that's where kind of like people starting trying to putting out that alternative or like innovative way of bridging the government and the people, right? So I think that's kind of like a really interesting thing to see. We'll see what happened in this text. I'm really exciting to see what will
yeah.
happen. The
And
river,
again, you know,
yeah,
the ruler of this conjunction is in retrograde Mercury.
yeah,
Um, so I think there will be, yeah, wounding of the people. It's in Cancer. Cancer is a sign of people as well.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and people will be like questioning, I think, what's going on a lot more.
Yeah, because I think there's definitely more information, and like I do feel like there's more investigation going on, like globally, not just in New Zealand. I think in general, like the investigation around authority and government and how they do things, and people
Yeah.
request more information,
Yeah.
request like transparency, accountability, rather than okay, I'm just let it sleep, I'm just let it like
Yeah.
slide, and things gonna be okay, and people feel it, and then that's emotionally like charged as well. When people emotionally charged, and that's when you actually really the cancer side of things, like pushing things really forward,
Yeah. One of the
protect.
things that I really noticed in the last month or so is there's been a few things in New Zealand where the government's taken some pretty drastic actions on different topics, and people are really starting to be like, no, this is not okay.
Yeah,
And they're having an impact, like
yeah,
I homeschool my children. There was an initiative with the government wanting to interfere with the homeschooling laws in New Zealand. And
yeah,
there was a
yeah,
huge uprising. Everyone wrote submissions and the government backed down, which is
yeah,
just, first of all, New Zealand, I mean, when I first moved here, it was a very politically apolitical. People weren't that interested in politics. That has changed. It's
yeah,
quite a passive. I think people are a little bit more passive in New Zealand about politics, but that's
yes, yeah,
changing as well.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
same with this conservation land sale. Like people are really up in arms about it.
yeah. I can see, I can
And
feel the energy. Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're having an impact. I really think the politicians are like, ooh, okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's great.
yeah.
Um,
All right,
Great.
okay.
Okay. The new moon in Cancer is next, and then we'll talk about the. Is it?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. But also, there's just quickly mention the Neptune's retrograde in 7th of
Oh, yeah.
July as well, and that's
Yeah.
just like a background thing as well. In Latin retrograde in Aries, I think that's when the retrograde party really started. And I think
Yeah.
for me, this is just like the big question for this transit is like, does who I am align with my spiritual values? Because I feel like now people are starting really questioning your spiritual identity as well, and also like what do you do as a person? Because I think definitely the Neptune working with Aries like really swift our identity. The retrograde basically asking us to revisiting. I think that's because now retrograde in Aries basically that's kind of like squaring my ascendant in a way, and I do feel like even not retrograde already, I already feel like constantly what my spiritual value constantly changing, and like I need to questioning. Okay, what I have done before, is that really like matching or aligning with who I am right now? I'm still doing that. It's like confusing. I have to say.
Yeah. Well,
I just leave
Neptune
it to be
is.
confusing right now.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to figuring out.
Yeah.
But this retrograde is basically re-evaluating.
Yeah.
Like you have done the past, that's because the past version of you, but you cannot stuck in there. You have to constantly like evolving from your old identity and allowing that to be happening as well. So I think that's a big question about all of us. And in general, even like who we are without all those conditioning, religion, and like the government and all the constitution, like the expectation from the society putting onto us. Without all of this, who we are as a spiritual being in with the human experiences,
Yeah.
So I think that's a big question. And other than I
Yeah.
just want to mention in here, like
Yeah. And then
yeah,
Saturn will turn retrograde in Aries as well later on in the month,
yeah,
in Leo season as well. So there is definitely the start of retrograde season.
yeah. And
Yeah.
also I think just mentioning the time here as well. So from July 7th to December 12th, and that's the Neptune retrograde like journey, the 5 months window of deep spiritual realignment. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of like if you are doing some spiritual work or you're refining what are you doing, what are you offering, I think that's the good time in a way, like really redefining who you are as a being.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
And then we're going to new moon.
Yes. New moon and Cancer.
Cancer.
21 degrees, pretty much
Yeah.
22 degrees.
And also
Um,
conjunct Mercury retrograde, isn't it?
yes, conjunct Mercury retrograde. I think it's a very inward facing new moon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
How do you feel about last new moon in Gemini?
oh, I'm trying to think. I felt, I really did feel like it was very inward as well.
Yeah.
A
I
lot of
feel like really
reflection.
floated, like nothing, like have no anchor.
No, that's right. It was
Unaspected full new moon.
It felt very like there was like ideas, but they didn't have an anchor. They didn't have a grounding, and it was more just like, you know.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like when I like preparing my note, I was like looking at this new moon, right? New moon in Cancer conjunct retrograde, because last new moon happening in Cancer, in Gemini, right? So the ruler of Gemini is Mercury. But now this new moon conjunct the retrograde Mercury, for me is like, I think that it can apply in my life as well. It was kind of like repot your idea. So last month you might having some ideas because I can see things in my life. For example, I have an idea, I put it out there, it doesn't really happen that much. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I don't feel like it's a bad idea, but it just doesn't have the container, doesn't have the like circumstances to grow or whatever. But now, like when I really look into, oh, actually, that idea maybe needed creating a new sort of like circumstances or like different container or different structure, whatever it is. So for me, this is like a big theme of repot your ideas.
Yes, that's
so
really
the ideas the ideas maybe you had last month, like there's so many inspirations, and it doesn't mean bad ideas. It just doesn't like having a right timing to actually adjust or right structures and to put it into it. So so I think that's what I feel this the flavor of this new moon. It's like, you don't need to have like necessarily have more new ideas.
No.
It's like get your idea in a container that will help it grow and give more nutrients, give more like soil and water and all the Cancer element and nutrients, like nurturing what you already have. Repot your ideas in different containers, and then you will grow. So I think that's how I on it.
That's a really the seeds I think we're potting as well.
Yeah.
Again, it's not necessarily ready to be shared yet as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I think this is something I talked about with the Gemini new moon. We always think new moons are like new beginnings, and it's like planting seeds, and it's like this is the new thing. But I think with that Mercury retrograde in Cancer, it's like we're doing it in the quiet, we're doing it in the dark, we're nourishing it. It's not ready to be announced.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I think really keep it in private. Like, I think sometimes, you know, I know I'm sometimes do this where I'm like, I get really excited and then I announce it and then it's like, oh, that wasn't quite ready to be shared.
Yeah.
You know, so doing it, you know, quietly journaling or just kind of nourishing that idea. And like you said, watering it.
Yeah, I see my cat coming in.
Yeah, I know.
So popping out. All right. Yeah. So I think I agree. So I think there's a very good what's that called? Not analyze metaphor or something like when you're planting a seed, right? And the seed need the darkness. Like you just leave it there and let it grow. You're not constantly checking. Hey, how are you doing? And taking it out, put it to the sun. No, you just leave it in the darkness. And then you will grow itself, but you just need to adding on. So you just nurture it, and then until it's ready, and that's when you share. You share the harvest, share the fruit, and share what is coming out of it. But this is like repot your ideas, creating bigger containers, creating environment, the home for your ideas first. It's kind of like building the foundation, right?
Because the Leo new moon is very different. I did have a quick look at that, but we would look at that in the next. You know, it is a more outward.
Yeah. Because I think this month is still kind of like let's just go back a little bit more and
Okay. So the last thing we're going to talk about, which is kind of almost the most important in some ways, but you know not, is the outer planet alignment, the Cradle and the Kite that is going to be forming around the 19th of July, and then also Jupiter creating some alignments as well, activating all of that. So let me just see whether I can get that chart up. July lineup. Okay, so I've got it on the 19th of July, but it's kind of all these days. The reason I've got it on the 19th is because we've got
started, right? That's when it started.
Yeah, the reason I've got it on the 19th is because we've got the moon in Libra, which is activating that kite.
But let's pointing out the kite first.
So first I'll talk about the outer alignment. So we've got Neptune and Aries here, which is in a harmonious aspect.
With Pluto, sextile.
With Pluto.
Yeah.
And with Uranus. So they're all at 4 degrees.
Yeah. So the
Okay.
sextile with each other,
They're
yeah.
sextile with each other, and then Pluto and Uranus are trine, so they form this mini mini
Triangle.
triangle. Yeah. So that is something that is going to be, this is, so let me just have a look at the dates, because Uranus in Gemini trine Pluto in Aquarius is exact on July 18th, but it's
Yeah.
only the first of 5 hits, so they're going to be trine 5 times all the way through to 2028.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Neptune, yeah, and then Neptune sextiling Pluto is the first of 13 hits.
oh,
So
okay, yeah,
it's going to be all the way through to 2032.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's like background information.
So
Yeah,
these are
yeah,
like generational slow transits, but they're
yeah.
really coming together on this day.
Mm-hmm.
The first harmonious aspect between Uranus and Pluto was their
Yeah.
conjunction in 1966. So this is kind of
Mm.
the first sextile. So it's
Yeah,
opening.
yeah,
It's this opportunity. What's come from that 1966.
yeah,
So yeah, it's like a big
background.
10-year
Yeah,
thing, but it's
yeah,
also really landing. So, and the
yeah,
reason I've got July, well, 20th here in New Zealand, but it's going to be 19th in most of the world,
yeah,
is the moon is
yeah,
opposing Neptune, which forms this kite. So the moon is opposing Neptune, but it's trine
yeah,
Pluto
yeah,
and Uranus.
yeah,
So the kite gives us an outlet
yeah,
for the opposition, which can be, intense. And I
yeah,
think with the moon there again, the moon is our emotional. If you have any placements, in the first degrees of Aries,
yeah,
Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, well, any fire or air signs really.
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
going to feel this personally. I
yeah,
think things are going to land,
yeah,
but also collectively, I think this is really a time where things just start to slide into place. And
yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
the moon being on a collective level, the people,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
Libra,
Libra, the justice.
justice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just a releasing point. I think
yeah,
that's pretty much like, yeah, like you said, the like I didn't notice the kite before, but now I see it. So this the moon's basically releasing point, and also
yeah,
moon representing people, and all this background like generational. We're going through like really historical
yeah,
transitioning as a humanity, and now this is like more aware of like we are more aware of like the justice is really and like the legal side of things as well, because Libra is about judge, about
yeah,
like
yeah.
what is
Legal
legal,
side.
what is not
Yeah,
illegal, right? What
yeah,
is international law and all that. So this is basically pointing, hey, now people are asking for justice,
yeah.
right?
And
And
fairness, I think,
yeah, and fairness, yes, for sure, and harmony in a way, because like
Yeah,
without justice, there's no harmony.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I think that's the two-sided coin as well. So I think that's really interesting. Yeah, but and yeah, that's the kite, and also pretty much at the same time, I was more focusing on the Jupiter activating the cradle. The cradle basically talking about is the, like
we got
the sextile and the two sextile like the Pluto and Neptune with Uranus,
Jupiter
this
here. Yeah,
and the Jupiter here,
Jupiter,
right? So this
Jupiter.
three already exist. Right?
Yeah,
And then adding on a Jupiter here is basically so Jupiter now forming a sextile to Uranus, and then a trine to Neptune, and then opposition with Pluto, right? So this basically creating a cradle configuration in astrology. And for me, because when Jupiter is opposing Pluto, so which means it's kind of for me the Jupiter in Leo is like a leadership, like a
yeah,
bigger figure, like royal figure, whatever, like in the big position and opposing people, right? The power to people. So this, but because we have so many trines and sextile in this cradle configuration, and so therefore this, like especially Neptune and Uranus, is actually building a bridge between the Pluto and Jupiter, right? So that's why I feel like this is an activation about this three planet generational the bigger background we're going through transitioning through, and it's kind of like how we find a alternative resolution, building the bridge between the power two people, and also because we do need leader. We do need leader in so many different ways, and to leading as a country, as humanity, as a nation, whatever you want to call it. But we do need that leader. But how we transfer this power to a more fair place for people, and also who we put on the leadership is really important. So I think that's kind of like a bridging through the two forces. And I think and also later on, and the sun will when we're starting to Leo season, we're activating this point again. So which means like what's happening when Jupiter, like especially in the 19th and 20th of July, and happening this way, I think later on, pretty much like in the end of this month, July, like from 20th ish, you'll feel that more potent. So I feel like this kind of like can be a massive protesting happening in a way, because like the forcing like two like opposition forces, but in a way we have the support, we have the opportunity to actually pushing a resolution. Yeah, so like what we're talking about in July, 4th of July, we have the Mars-Uranus conjunction. That's when things may be starting to happening, and the information coming through, investigation, and then massive thing coming through this day saying, hey, now we are able to really pushing through, like having some like solid things happening, like in order to resolve the conflict. The two, like, of course, it's not going to happen overnight, I have to say, but you will see the peak moment in this being activated because Jupiter amplify things.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think you're right. Like, I think, we've talked about this in Gemini, like there's been a lot of disruption. There's been a lot of chaos, upheaval, and I feel like it's been building towards something, and this is kind of this is it. There's all the air and fire signs involved. Yeah. There's the new ways of thinking, the new ideas, the new vision. Yeah. And it's really the world reorganizing itself.
Yes.
And I think with that, within the Jupiter and Leo, it's like this. There's this outward expression that it's like the doorbell's ringing. You're like, okay, we're opening it, we're stepping out, and this is how we want it to look. And the direction, I think, is going to become more clear.
Yeah.
But I think this is exactly what the inner work of Cancer season is preparing us for.
Yeah, because I think when the external things are really big and loud, and we can all feel all the emotions be activating within all of us, and that can be emotionally exhausted, and sometimes you can feel like you're powerless. But when you're being part of the solution rather than part of the problem, and then that's when you feel powered. And also, like, another thing I want to mention why I'm talking about this is like a bigger thing. Like when we break it down separately, for example, when we're looking at Jupiter in Leo is opposing Pluto in Aquarius, right? So which is this really strong theme of expansive power that is being held in the leadership role, confronting the need for power to be returned to people and community. That's Aquarius, right? And also when you see this one, like, of course, like when I say Cradle configuration, I feel like it doesn't remove the challenges. It's starting to building a bridge, right? And also this bridge is kind of a big,
it's the ease that can come from that conflict. I think it's a positive. Both the kite and the cradle, they have the tension, but there's opportunity and there's resolution available.
Yeah, and also the resolution coming from Neptune and Uranus, basically. So Neptune in Aries is like, for me, is the spiritual warrior, right? Remind us that true leadership must be guided by vision and purpose and spiritual integrity. So I think that's kind of like one of the part of the resolution in how to give the power back to people. And then the Uranus in Gemini, like I said before, for me is the conscious liberator, and introducing innovations, new ideas, and alternative perspectives, and that help break rigid thinking and creating unexpected solutions. So I think that's kind of like this too is actually what we're leaning on to, and to, okay, let's not think, because old system doesn't work. And if you want to keeping things forward, you have to have an innovative way to make things work, right? And also, you sometimes need to give this thing a try, right? You cannot expecting things happening overnight, but we have to think differently now, because the old system has already proven to us it doesn't work, right? So I think that's kind of like the big thing here. But Yeah, I haven't. I don't know. I do also feel because Jupiter is a personal planet. I feel like this also will affecting us personally as well. But somehow I haven't get to this insight for that. Do you have any idea about like how that will affecting us personally with this activating cradle?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's interesting that you say Jupiter is a personal planet because technically it's not in Western astrology, but the more
Yeah,
I work with it, the more I look at Saturn and Jupiter as more personal planets.
I do consider that personal planet too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I think it is just what we talked about with the Jupiter and Leo. Like, what is important? What do we really value? I know values are more Taurus, but I think Leo also has this real, like, what we value from the heart. And
yeah,
it is such a heart-driven sign.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think
yeah. I think
it's
maybe
almost
yeah,
like an
yeah.
expansion of, of the heart, of our personal hearts, of our personal. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
I think
similar to,
yeah,
it's not dissimilar to, I think, the emotional cancer that we'll be feeling. It's adding to that enough is enough,
yeah,
and um, there's almost like
yeah,
a fight quality there as well with the Pluto. Like I want to fight for this.
yeah. And also, I also feel like I think go back to when we're talking about like the Leos, like the self-expression, right? The
Yeah,
authenticity and how you show up authentically and to serve the community rather than for your like audience or followers and all that.
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
maybe like the Uranus in Gemini providing some sort of like different way of expressing yourself or
yeah,
different way of
yeah,
and Neptune in Aries, like I said, the spiritual realignment, like your spiritual identity,
yeah,
like is
yeah,
that like what do you do align with you, what do you value, not necessarily spiritual values, just in general, what do you
yeah,
believe, what do you
yeah,
value, and
yeah,
how you realign with that, and then you can show up in a way like in from the heart and
yeah,
from the authenticity rather than a performance rather
yeah,
than and
yeah,
that's where and also actually being part of the community, being part of the solution and creating contributing to the collective rather than everything's about my gain, everything's about my like audience of followers, all that. um
yeah.
yeah,
And I also
yeah,
feel like there's this
mm.
move from like the whole personal development language, the whole personal self-help,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah,
there's something larger out there, like
yeah,
we're starting to be like, there's
it's not
something
just you.
larger than self,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, something
which
bigger
I
than
think
you. Yeah.
actually Jupiter and Leo, like
Mm.
Leo is can be very self egocentric, but like Jupiter's
Yes.
like, no, we're going to expand that. Self is
Yeah.
bigger than you think.
Yes. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think that. Yeah.
wrapping up, are you
Yeah.
ready to wrap up?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I feel like overall Cancer season is that
Yeah.
real inward moment before the breakthrough
Yeah.
becomes visible.
Yeah.
What we clarify and heal and tend to during the season will become
Yeah.
really foundational for what we build as the outer planet
Hmm.
window opens.
Yeah.
And yeah, take the time, take that
Yeah.
time to tend to those things,
Yeah.
while being aware of that you are connected to something larger, and that's going to become more and more important.
Yeah, yeah, and also I feel like yeah, for me it's the same thing. Like I said in the very very beginning, like we feel like the Cancer season can be really contradicting. Like at one hand, there's a lot external things maybe activated and like happening, and also in the other hand, your emotional world can be quite like loud
Yeah,
and expressive in a way. But I
yeah,
feel like because like when you're really looking at the cradle, like it's being activating this month, and then for me it's like being part of the solution, being
yeah,
part of the community,
yeah,
and really starting to realign yourself how you be authentic self and how you're accepting yourself as well. Because like we're going through all this emotional process and this is a good timing for healing, care for the land and all that. Just slow it down, being reflective, but also actively being part of the community, being part of collective,
yeah,
because you're not separate from that,
yes, yeah,
and taking the stand and doing things you're supposed to do, even just little things, little contribution, And that's where you're leading from the heart. You're operating from the heart. And then that's where actually you can get most satisfying emotional need to be met. Yeah. So, yeah.
Great.
All right. Oh, great.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. We are see you guys in next month.
Leo season.
We'll see what's happening gonna feel Leo season. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Fairy. Thanks so much for joining us on Let's Blame the Planets. We'll be back next month with another deep dive into the sky and how it's showing up in our lives. If you want to keep up with what else we're offering, from astrology insights to workshops and more, check out our social handles in the description below. And don't forget to follow so you don't miss the next episode.